When we ask someone about the chess game, usually we hear, chess is a strategical game. You must use logic. The objective is to hunt the opponent's king. These statements are all true, but what is the chess game really? Well, the chess pieces represent the army of two kingdoms that are about to start a war. The objective of this fight is to try to go after the opponent's king and leave him without any salvation, to give a checkmate. That's pretty interesting, but how do we get to the opponent's king anyway? If we think of chess as a war on 64 squares, we can presume that when we try to invade the opponent's camp, the first thing that he would do is to try to push your soldier away from his land. Thus, it's extremely dangerous to throw your soldier into the other side without preparing this entrance. First of all, we need to prepare our forces for this assault. And by preparing, I mean that our pieces should be ready to fight if they are needed. If the battles start and our pieces are still far behind, they won't be able to help each other, and in this case, the chances of losing the fight are big. That said, all of our pieces should be prepared to fight when their strengths are required. There is only one piece that shouldn't be part of this confusion, at least at the beginning of the game, and it's the king. Since he's the most important piece that we have in chess, he must be guarded at all costs. That's why we hide him in his castle, protected by the brave pawns that will block most of the long and short distance attacks. Now, all of our pieces are ready to fight. What should we do? Well, now we can think of ways of attacking, of trying to invade our opponent's camp. However, we can never be too careful. When we are trying to cross the bridge, we should pay a lot of attention to where our pieces are stepping. For this dangerous mission to be successful, we gotta spot gaps in our opponent's territory. Where there is less protection, that's the place we're gonna focus on. These gaps in chess are called weak squares. Squares that are not being protected by the best defenders in chess, the fearless pawns. Since our intention is to send our soldiers to the other side and establish them there, we don't want a ruthless pawn to kick out an imposing knight, for example. That's why we look for these so-called weak squares, holes in the opponent's position. However, only looking for good squares for our pieces won't help us win the game. Our objective is still to try to get to the king and checkmate him. In this regard, it would be very helpful to reduce the opponent's army. In this case again, we need to be clever when choosing our target of attack. The first piece that comes to our mind is the most powerful one, the queen. If we manage to get rid of her, most of our problems would also disappear. However, life's not that simple. If we started chasing the queen, she would fly over the whole chessboard and we'd only lose time trying to capture her. That's why we should attack less mobile targets. And here they appear again, the pawns. Along with the king, the pawns are very slow compared to the other pieces. Thus, they are easier to hunt. In this scenario, an important part of our strategy of trying to invade the opponent's land is to attack his pawns, in order to try to reduce his force. But here also, we don't attack any pawn that comes to our mind. We go after those that will have more chances of capturing. We go after the weak pawns. These are those that can't be protected by other pawns. If we attack them, we will force the strong pieces to be in a passive position, defending their little teammates. And in this case, the pieces won't have as many possibilities to start an attack against our army. Win-win. Alright, our soldiers have been fighting for quite a bit for now, but we can't stop just yet. We still need to push our army forward so that we can dominate the other land and try to get more prizes from that. It could be time for a tactical operation that will give us more material advantage or even a direct attack against the king. The more pressure our pieces exert against the others, the higher the chances of our opponent collapsing and making a significant mistake that will lead to us having a winning position. Therefore, even in an apparently won game, you must be alert to your opportunities of finally closing the game and converting your victory. After you have optimized the power of your pieces and got a stronger army, it is time for the final blow. It could be that you have finally found the king's hiding place and have sufficient resources to checkmate him, or that you have accumulated so many goods that your opponent has nothing else better to stop the grief than resigning. And here, you've accomplished it, the dreamed victory in a chess game. Well done!